We'll start with chapter 1, The Fun They Had. Before you read, the story we shall read is set in the future, when books and schools as we know them will perhaps not exist. The Fun They Had story represents a picture of the future schools, where printed books and school atmosphere will not be present. In the end of the chapter, we will come to know the importance of school life and interaction among one another. Now, we will proceed with the chapter. Point number 1. Margie even wrote about it that night in her diary. On the page headed 17th May 2157, she wrote, "Today, Tommy found a real book." Margie and Tommy both play an important role in this chapter. You will imagine that future schools will not have printed books and school atmosphere. So, how come Margie write a diary? Margie wrote in the e-book, and as we have come to know, the diary entry starts with the title of day and date. Margie headed 17th May 2157. She wrote her brother Tommy found a real book. Real book represents a book with the printed papers and still words. It was a very old book. Margie's grandfather once said that when he was a little boy, his grandfather told him that there was a time when all stories were printed on paper. In the present era, we used to find story books. So Margie recalled that once her grandfather said that when he was small, his grandfather said him about the printed story books. They turned the pages, which were yellow and crinkly. Crinkly means the pages which have lines and folds. And it was awfully funny to read words that stood still instead of moving. Here, still means the printed books in which we can read the chapter, and moving means the books which were there in the virtual classroom where the topic moves on, not still, the way they were supposed to on a screen, And then when they turned back to the page before, it had the same words on it that it had when they read it for the first time. In our present books, the page, the books, the words, the topic, the content, we can find it on the other page also. But in the e-books, the content does not remain the same. "Gee," said Tommy, "what a waste." Tommy expressed his views about the book which they found. He said it is just a waste of time. When you are through with this book, you just throw it away. He says to Margie that once you have finished with this book, just throw it away. It is just a waste. I guess our television screen must have had 1,000,000 books on it. Television screen resembles to the e-books on the computer screen. Millions of books in the sense they have millions of chapters and contents on it, in which the words are not repeated. And it is good for plenty more, and they can find more on the e-books. I wouldn't throw it away. "Same with mine," said Margie. She was 11 and hadn't seen as many telebooks as Tommy. He was 13. Margie was 11 years old and Tommy was 13 years old. Margie confirms that she has not seen as many telebooks and e-books as Tommy had. She said, "Where did you find it?" in my house. He pointed without looking because he was busy reading in the attic. Attic means a space just below the roof used as a storehouse. What is it about? School. Margie was scornful. School? What's there to write about school? I hate school. Margie and Tommy, they both have never seen a school life, so they don't know what is a school. Margie always hated school, but now she hated it more than ever. The mechanical teacher refers to the robotic teacher, had been giving her test after test in geography, and she had been doing worse and worse until her mother had shaken her head sorrowfully and sent for the county inspector. The county inspector was a round little man with a red face and whole box of tools with dials and wires. He was about a robot or a mechanical person who used to see that the test and the content in the e-books are going well. Margie was not going well in her geography content, so he came to see what was the matter. He smiled at Margie and gave her an apple as Margie was not doing well. So, to encourage her, he smiled at Margie and gave her an apple, then took the teacher apart. Margie had hoped he wouldn't know how to put it together again, but he knew how all right, and after an hour or so, there it was again, large, black and ugly, with a big screen on which all lessons were shown. The county inspector repaired the Margie's mechanical one which was giving her the geography test. Margie thought that it would take time, but he repaired it within an hour. And again, he also repaired the lesson according to her age. That wasn't so bad. The part Margie hated most was the slot where she had to put homework and test papers. Slot means a given space, time or a position in the virtual classroom e-books. She always had to write them out in the punch code. They made her learn what she was when she was 6 years old, and the mechanical teacher calculated the marks in no time. The inspector had smiled, and after he was finished and patted Margie's head, he said to her mother, "It's not the little girl's fault, Mrs. Jones." Mrs. Jones was Margie's mother. The county inspector said her that it was not the fault of Margie. I think the geography sector was geared little too quick. This line means that the lesson set for the geography was not according to the age level of Margie. Those things happen sometimes. I have slowed it up to an average 10-year level. Actually, the overall pattern of her progress is quite satisfactory. He was consoling her mother that both the kids are doing well, especially Margie. And he patted Margie's head again. Margie was disappointed. She was disappointed because the county inspector has fixed her e-books within an hour. She had been hoping that they would take the teacher away altogether. She had been hoping because once it had happened that Tommy's teacher had come to set her history sector, and which took a month to repair it. She had been hoping that they would take the teacher away altogether. They had once taken Tommy's teacher away for nearly a month because the history sector had blanked out completely. Blanked out completely here refers that the content was not been visible on the e-books. So she said to Tommy, why would anyone write about school? Because her thinking was that the school atmosphere and school life is just wasteless. Tommy looked at her with very superior eyes. Superior eyes here refers to brightened eyes. Tommy started staring Margie because it's not our kind of school, stupid. Our kind refers to the future school where we don't have to go to the classrooms. Our school is near in our house next to the other room. This is the old kind of school. Old kind of school here refers to the present school. They had hundreds and hundreds of years ago. He added loftily, pronouncing the word carefully. Centuries ago. In the starting of the chapter, we had come to know that Margie was writing all the things in her diary, headed titled 17th May 2157. So thus we can calculate it centuries ago. Margie was hurt. Well, I don't know what kind of a school they had all that time ago. She read the book over his shoulder for a while, then said, anyway, they had a teacher. They had a teacher. Here, Margie wants to say the difference between a robotic mechanical teacher and a teacher as a human being. In the old kind of schools, as Margie said, they consist of human beings as teacher. Sure, they had a teacher, but it wasn't a regular teacher. It was